Rinne Sharingan. When we talk about the strongest eyes in Boruto, we have to start at the top of the food chain, the Rinne Sharingan. This dojutsu isn't something you pick up because you trained hard, or because your clan has a secret scroll hidden in the attic. This eye is so rare that only godlike beings like Kaguya Otsutsuki have ever used it, and even then, it took her munching on the god tree's chakra fruit to awaken it. Basically, it's the original, the ancestor that gave birth to all other ocular powers. Imagine if the Sharingan and the Rinnegan had a terrifying baby. That's the Rinne Sharingan. Now, the design itself screams danger. A red eye with ripple-like waves stretching outward, and 9 Tomoe circling it like it's taunting you with its power. But what makes this eyes horrifying is what it can do. The Rinne Sharingan allows the user to channel insane amounts of chakra and cast global-scale jutsu. And I don't mean large like city-busting attacks, I mean global. The most famous technique tied to this eye is the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu so massive it reflects off the moon and traps the entire planet in a dream. Sounds nice at first, free dream vacation for everyone, but in reality, it's like humanity getting soft-locked into an eternal loading screen. But it doesn't stop at genjutsu. Kaguya also used the Rinne Sharingan to tear open portals between dimensions. 1 second you're standing on a battlefield, and the next you're falling through an endless sky of acid, or freezing inside an ice world. Team 7 learned this the hard way when Kaguya kept bouncing them through different worlds, like she was speedrunning a survival game. Of course, using the Rinne Sharingan requires a colossal amount of chakra. Even for Kaguya, it took the entire god tree feeding her energy and the planet's chakra network to keep the infinite Tsukuyomi active. It's almost impossible for anyone less than an Otsutsuki god to pull off.
For a second, 1 like equals 1 chakra orb for Hagoromo. 1 subscribe opens another timeline where Madara finally wins the war. So, what timeline are you choosing? If this video leveled up your ninja knowledge, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell like it's a summoning jutsu. We've got more god-tier breakdowns coming. Sharingan, Jogan, even Shibai Otsutsuki's divine powers. You don't want to miss that. And hey, comment your favorite Rinnegan user below. Let's see whose fanbase is strongest in the comments. Now, let's look at the legends who used this eye.
Rinnegan. If the Rinne Sharingan is the ancestor, then the Rinnegan is the prodigy child that changed the entire shinobi world. Born from Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the sage of 6 paths himself, this dojutsu marked the foundation of almost every legend we know. Hagoromo got it after inheriting chakra from both Kaguya and the 10 Tails, and from there, it became a power tied to prophecy and destiny. In the Boruto era, we see different flavors of the Rinnegan. Sasuke Uchiha received his from Hagoromo during the 4th Great Ninja War. Momoshiki and Urashiki, on the other hand, naturally awakened theirs thanks to their Otsutsuki heritage. And to make things even flashier, the Rinnegan doesn't always stick to one look. We've seen it in purple, red, gold, and even blue, depending on the user. It's like the dojutsu equivalent of a limited edition skin. Visually, it's easy to spot, those pale violet eyes with ripple rings spreading out. But what matters is the insane set of powers it brings to the table. The Rinnegan grants access to the legendary 6 paths techniques. With the Diva Path, you bend gravity, push enemies away, or crush them into the ground. With the Preta Path, you absorb chakra like a human sponge, leaving ninjutsu users crying in frustration. The Animal Path summons giant monsters. The Human Path rips out souls. The Naraka Path calls upon the King of Hell for judgment and healing. And the Outer Path goes even further by reviving the dead or controlling the Gedo statue. Each of these alone could make someone a high-tier shinobi. Combined, it's borderline unfair. Sasuke showed us how dangerous it could be by mixing Rinnegan abilities with his Uchiha arsenal. He absorbed ninjutsu, teleported with Ameno Tejikara, and even opened interdimensional portals to chase down Otsutsuki across dimensions. Momoshiki and Urashiki took it to another level, experimenting with time and energy manipulation, something that we see hints of again in Boruto's ongoing story. But here's the catch. The Rinnegan is not infinite. It eats through chakra like crazy. Using the 6 paths back-to-back isn't sustainable, even for monsters like Sasuke or Momoshiki. That's why fights involving Rinnegan users often turn into a game of resource management. If you overuse it, you're left vulnerable. Tenseigan. Now, let's move to the eye that literally tried to crash the moon into the earth. The Tenseigan. This dojutsu comes from Hamura Otsutsuki's lineage, the other half of the Otsutsuki brothers' story. If Hagoromo gave us the Rinnegan, Hamura's branch gave us the Tenseigan, an evolution of the Byakugan. Think of it like the Byakugan leveling up to God-tier mode. Toneri Otsutsuki was the unlucky test subject who showed us exactly what this eye can do in the last, Naruto the movie. By implanting a pure Hyuga Byakugan into his own Otsutsuki body, Toneri awakened the Tenseigan, and the moment it lit up, bright blue iris with a flower-like pattern, you knew things were about to get dangerous. The Tenseigan is all about massive chakra manipulation, but it's unstable. Push it too far, and it can actually regress back into a regular Byakugan. It's like downloading a cracked version of Ultimate Power. You never know when it's going to glitch on you. When it does work, though, the results are terrifying. The Tenseigan grants its user the Tenseigan Chakra Mode, a glowing cloak that skyrockets speed, power, and elemental mastery. It enhances yin-yang release, creates chakra-based weapons, and fires off energy blasts that could vaporize landscapes. Toneri even wielded a chakra blade forged from this eye, clashing head-to-head with Naruto. He shifted the moon's orbit, trying to slam it into Earth like it was a giant meteor. I mean, talk about overkill. What makes the Tenseigan so fascinating in Boruto is its legacy. While Toneri lost, the idea of the Tenseigan hasn't gone away. There are hints that Himawari Hyuga, Naruto's daughter, may carry its influence in her Byakugan. If that's true, then the Tenseigan isn't just a one-off movie gimmick. It's a ticking time bomb that could resurface in the next generation, and that puts it firmly among the top dojutsu in the series. Jogan. If the Tenseigan is flashy and destructive, then the Jogan is mysterious and unpredictable. This eye belongs to Boruto Uzumaki, and honestly, it's one of the biggest puzzles in the franchise. No official origin has been confirmed, but the leading theory is that Boruto inherited it through a mix of Hagoromo's lineage from Naruto and Hamura's bloodline from Hinata. Some fans even connect it to Shibai Otsutsuki, the godlike figure who transcended mortality. In other words, Boruto hit the genetic jackpot. The Jogan manifests in his right eye with a pale blue iris, a faint pupil, and in the anime, a black sclera that gives it an eerie, otherworldly look. What's wild is that Boruto can't even control it. The Jogan activates on its own, usually when he's under emotional stress or facing a serious threat. Imagine having a supercar in your garage that randomly decides to drive itself. You don't know if you're heading to work or crashing into another dimension. But when it does turn on, the Jogan is ridiculously useful. It can see the entire chakra network and highlight weak points, like a cheat code. It detects negative emotions and tracks unusual energy signatures, such as the dark chakra of Nue. Most importantly, it can sense interdimensional barriers and even predict space-time ninjutsu like Yomotsu Hirasaka. That puts it on a completely different level compared to the Byakugan. Boruto first awakened it during the Mitsuki disappearance arc, where the Jogan helped him locate hidden dimensions and escape Deepa's trap. And while the manga hasn't showcased it yet, both Toneri and Momoshiki hint that this dojutsu will decide the fate of the shinobi world. Toneri calls it the key to dispelling the coming darkness, while Momoshiki warns Boruto that he'll lose everything because of it. Those aren't the kind of prophecies you take lightly. The Jogan's importance is only growing. It feels like the ace card that will allow Boruto to stand against the Otsutsuki threat in the future. It's not about extreme destruction like the Tenseigan, but about perception, timing, and insight. And in a world where enemies can bend time and dimensions, sometimes seeing the truth is the greatest weapon of all. Tomoe Rinnegan. When it comes to broken abilities, Sasuke Uchiha's Tomoe Rinnegan is right up there on the list. This dojutsu was gifted to him by Hagoromo Otsutsuki during the Fourth Great Ninja War, and it's basically a hybrid between the Rinnegan and the Mangekyo Sharingan. You can see that combination right away, the ripple design of the Rinnegan, but with 6 black Tomoe sitting on top. It looks like an eye that said, Why settle for one power when I can have both? The crown jewel of this dojutsu is Ame no Tejikara, Sasuke's signature move. With it, he can swap places with people or objects instantly. No hand seals, no dramatic pose, just blink, and suddenly you're standing where his sword was a second ago. This ability alone turns Sasuke into one of the trickiest fighters in the series. He's like a shinobi version of a magician pulling teleportation stunts mid-battle. But the Tomoe Rinnegan also allows Sasuke to open portals between dimensions, giving him the freedom to chase down Otsutsuki across different realities. Add that to the Uchiha classics, Amaterasu, the black flames that never die, and Susanoo, his towering ethereal warrior, and you've got one of the most overloaded eyes in Naruto history. We saw how lethal this was when Sasuke fought Kinshiki Otsutsuki. With a single Ame no Tejikara swap, he tricked Kinshiki and landed a clean strike. Later, he used the Rinnegan space-time powers to track and pursue Momoshiki through dimensions, showing how much control he had over the battlefield. Of course, no dojutsu is without limits. Overuse causes the Tomoe to vanish temporarily, which weakens his vision and makes some techniques unavailable until he recovers. And because it consumes a huge amount of chakra, Sasuke has to use it carefully. Even the strongest shinobi in the world cannot spam it forever. Kokugan. Now let's talk about the Kokugan, the exclusive dojutsu of Isshiki Otsutsuki, later passed on to Kawaki through karma. If the Tomoe Rinnegan is all about trickery, then the Kokugan is about absolute battlefield domination. Visually, it's striking, a pitch-black sclera, a golden pupil, and an 8-spoked pattern that symbolizes control and balance. Almost like it was inspired by Buddhist philosophy. But don't let the calm symbolism fool you. This eye is terrifying in practice. Its signature ability is Sukuna Hikona, which lets the user shrink any non-living object instantly. Weapons, giant constructs, even themselves, shrunk down in an instant while retaining full strength. The move happens so quickly that not even Sasuke's Rinnegan could keep up with it. Imagine swinging a sword at someone, and suddenly the sword is the size of a toothpick. That's the kind of psychological damage the Kokugan delivers. The second ability, Daikokuten, pairs perfectly with it. All those shrunken objects get stored in a separate timeless dimension. Then, whenever the user wants, they can bring them back at full size instantly. Isshiki used this in battle to summon massive black rods and crush his enemies, or to release deadly weapons without warning. His infamous black cubes were the most frightening version of this power. They absorbed chakra, immobilized enemies, and turned entire fights into unwinnable scenarios. Isshiki showed the full potential of the Kokugan when he fought Naruto and Sasuke. He controlled the battlefield like a god, shrinking and expanding objects at will, keeping the two strongest shinobi completely on the back foot. Later, Kawaki inherited this dojutsu through karma and used it to defeat Code, proving that even without full Otsutsuki blood, the Kokugan is still ridiculously effective. Of course, there's one limitation. It can't shrink living organisms directly. That means it requires tactical timing and precise execution. But in the hands of someone like Isshiki or Kawaki, that limitation is barely noticeable. Senrigan. Senrigan, this eye belongs to Eida. But here's the twist. It wasn't something she inherited from an ancient clan or awakened after trauma. Nope, the Senrigan was manufactured. Amato, with his usual mad scientist who definitely watches too much sci-fi energy, used DNA from Shibai Otsutsuki, the dude who transcended mortality, to engineer this divine dojutsu for Eida. So technically, her eye is less about bloodline and more about biotech gone wild. The Senrigan shows up as a crescent moon pattern in her left eye, and its powers are terrifying in a way that doesn't even require fighting. With it, Eida can watch any event happening in real time anywhere in the world. Not only that, she can rewind her vision to see any event from the moment she was born. Think about it. Imagine living your life with a 24/7 DVR where you can pull up any channel, past or present. Creepy? Yes. Powerful? Absolutely. Of course, there are limits. She can't read minds, and she can't peek into mental or spiritual planes. So if Boruto's having a secret chat with Momoshiki inside his head, she's locked out of that party. But when combined with her other power, omnipotence, the Senrigan becomes ridiculously broken. Omnipotence allows her to rewrite reality itself by altering people's perceptions. And the Senrigan feeds her the information she needs to make the most devastating moves. That's how she flipped the entire ninja world's memories, swapping Boruto's and Kawaki's roles like it was editing a save file. In Boruto's storyline, Eida's Senrigan is more dangerous than most combat dojutsu because it changes politics, trust, and even the foundations of relationships. She used it to expose Amato's secrets, to stay one step ahead of code, and to manipulate Leaf Village dynamics without throwing a single punch. And by 2025, her eye is still central to the Boruto-Kawaki conflict, acting like a chessboard overview where she can see every piece moving. The scary part, unlike other eyes, you can't fight your way around the Senrigan. You can't block, dodge, or overpower it. The only way to counter Eida's vision is to figure out how to stop her from looking, and good luck pulling that off when she's watching the whole world. Golden Rinnegan. Now from surveillance straight into raw destruction, the Golden Rinnegan. This flashy dojutsu belongs to Momoshiki Otsutsuki, and it activated after he absorbed Kinshiki's chakra. And when I say flashy, I mean literally golden. It appears in his palms and on his forehead, glowing like a warning sign that screams, "You're about to get wrecked." The Golden Rinnegan is unique compared to standard Rinnegan variants. While most users tap into the Six Paths abilities, Momoshiki uses his eyes for direct energy manipulation. His right hand absorbs ninjutsu, and his left hand spits it back out, only amplified. If you hit him with a Rasengan, he will toss back a Mega Rasengan that makes yours look like a practice ball. It's basically the worst kind of Uno reverse card. On top of that, he can convert absorbed chakra into red fruit pills, which he eats to instantly boost his power and stamina. And then there's the third eye on his forehead, which increases his perception and combat awareness, giving him the kind of reflexes that make even Keiji-level shinobi sweat. We saw the Golden Rinnegan at its most destructive during Momoshiki's battle against the 5 Kage and Naruto Sasuke. When he absorbed Naruto's Rasengan and fired it back in an upgraded form, it forced everyone into pure defense mode. It was one of those moments where you realize this dojutsu is not only about counterattacks, it turns your own strength against you. It guzzles chakra like crazy. Momoshiki needs a steady supply of stolen energy to keep it going. That's why he relies on absorbing others instead of wasting his own reserves. But when he's fueled up, the Golden Rinnegan is a nightmare. Ohirume Mangekyo Sharingan. Alright, it's time to talk about the newest Uchiha prodigy on the block, Sarada Uchiha. And yes, she finally awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan, and it came with a brand new power called Ohirume. Unlike most Uchiha who awaken their Mangekyo through tragedy, usually watching a loved one die, Sarada's moment was tied to her determination and emotional resolve. Her eyes awakened when she faced overwhelming despair and conflict, not because she lost someone, but because she chose to protect what mattered most. It wasn't grief that lit her eyes, it was conviction. Now compare this to her father, Sasuke. Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan awakened after the traumatic death of his brother Itachi. His entire journey was built on revenge, hatred, and grief. That's why his Mangekyo carried powers like Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi, abilities rooted in destruction and torment. His awakening was the classic Uchiha story. Tragedy gives birth to power. Sarada's awakening, on the other hand, flips that script. Hers came not from death, but from life, from her desire to protect her comrades and fight alongside them. Ohirume is born from hope, from the will to fight for the future, not the pain of losing the past. Now, let me break down Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan ability, Ohirume, because this thing is seriously wild. When she activates it, 4 black spheres pop up around her. Each one acts like a little black hole. They pull in anything around them with crazy gravitational force. The first thing we see is how good it is at defense. Ryu came at her with a wave of iron sand that looked impossible to dodge, but the spheres sucked it all in. Gone. Like she pressed delete on his strongest move. Instead of clashing head-on, she let Ohirume eat the entire attack. That's the kind of counter that makes even overwhelming jutsu look useless. But here's the scary part. It's not only use for defense. she can use those spheres offensively too. By changing their pull, she lifted herself and Ryu into the air, basically dragging him into her gravity zone. That's not flying. That's straight up rewriting the battlefield. From that point on, he was fighting on hers, and then Sarada focused one of the black spheres right onto Ryu's body. The pull crushed him from the inside out until he broke apart into dust. That was it. Game over. No big explosion, no mind game, just pure gravitational pressure tearing him apart. What makes Ohirume so crazy is the versatility. It's not locked into one gimmick like Amaterasu's flames, or a single illusion like Tsukuyomi. She can block massive attacks, control the environment, and end a fight with a single crushing move, all with the same ability. If she develops it further, I honestly think it could stand shoulder to shoulder with broken powers like Kamui, not through teleportation, but by bending gravity itself. But it does eat up chakra fast, and her eyes are definitely under strain. But even in its first real use, Ohirume proved that Sarada is setting a new bar for what the Uchiha legacy can look like. Red Rinnegan.
While others relied on raw power or precise plans, Urashiki fought like a gambler. He was chaotic, clever, and most of all, adaptive. His weapon of choice was a Rinnegan that didn't just grant abilities, it changed forms. At first glance, his eye looked like any other, a standard purple Rinnegan. But during battle, something strange would happen. The color would shift, depending on which ability he activated. Red, blue, back to purple. Each color meant something different. Each color unlocked a new threat. The red Rinnegan was Urashiki's trump card. With this form, he could jump through time. Not just seconds, but full moments into the past. He used this during his missions on Earth, especially when things didn't go his way. If he misjudged a fight, he could rewind time and redo it. Like a game save, this made him nearly impossible to pin down. Even if he lost, he could just try again. Urashiki once used this ability to go back years in the past, chasing Naruto and Boruto during their time travel mission. This wasn't limited to short-term tricks. It was full-scale temporal movement, something not even Kaguya or Momoshiki could do. But time travel comes with risks. Overuse of the red Rinnegan could destabilize the user or the timeline itself. Still, Urashiki didn't care. His goal was chaos. His Rinnegan made him a master of resets.
Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.